Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in as we conversate and talk about firearms legislation, policy news, movies, you name it, we're talking about here on Coffee with Craig. Please take a moment once again to like and share this video feed so that your friends can become our friends and join us in the conversation. Also, remember, we're a membership organization. We advocate in Washington, Oregon, Nevada, California, Washington, D.C., you name it. We have legislative actions also all across the country. So join FPC by going to joinfpc.org. That's joinfpc.org. And finally, remember, one other way in which you can support our efforts is by going to fpcgear.com. You can buy cool t-shirts. We have a number of brand new designs that are available there for you. You can see just a few of them right there. I want to encourage you guys, please make a purchase. Look good. Father's Day right around the corner. So please make that purchase and support the Second Amendment. Anyway, that's fpcgear.com. All right, let's move right along and let's talk about today's topic. Now, about a week or so ago, I think it was about 1 or 2 weeks ago, I was talking to you about credit card companies and their desire to start tracking firearm purchases, so that they were saying that their goal was so that they could provide information to the feds in terms of who was buying what firearms. And I said, folks, we need to be really careful, because one of the things that this could eventually lead to is the actual denial of firearm purchases. Meaning, you go to buy a firearm, the credit card company sees that you're buying a gun, and they say, nope, we are not going to process it. Well, needless to say, some of you said that what was the term that was used? So I can't remember the term that was used, but some of you insinuated that, that I was, I was fear-mongering, that I was putting out there something that could not possibly happen. Well, guess what, folks? It's happening. And it's happening right now. There's an issue that's been going on with a company called Intuit. Now, those of you who have QuickBooks are familiar with Intuit. Those of you who use TurboTax are familiar with Intuit. What you may not know is that they are also in the credit card processing business. So what they have decided to do was, there was a company that had actually found out, well, you know what, I'm going to let them, they've come face to face with this issue, and I'm going to let the Chief Operating Officer of Gunsite Academy, Mr. Ken Campbell, kind of tell you what happened in his own words. Ken, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having us. It's always good to support fellow supporters of the Second Amendment.
All right. So I didn't want to spoil the story. So do me a favor and just kind of tell our viewers kind of what happened with your interaction with Intuit and credit card processing.
Okay, I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version here. Say 12 weeks ago, we were looking for a new credit card processing company. The salespeople at Intuit were very good at what they do, and that convinced us we needed to switch to them. Either unbeknownst to them or something, they missed the fact that we're in the firearms industry. Maybe the first clue would have been our name, Gunsite. But they apparently missed that. There is a clause in their fine print that alcohol, tobacco, and firearm sales have to be face-to-face. Now, we didn't see that, but firearm sales are face-to-face. As you know, I know, all retail sales of firearms, you've got to go through a licensed dealer, you've got to show state ID, you've got to fill out that 4473, you've got to have your requisite NICS check, and so on and so on. We're in one of the most heavily regulated industries. So they discovered that we sold guns, firearms, online. Now let's back up here just a little bit. Gunsite Academy is the world's oldest privately owned and operated firearms training facility in the world, not just the Republic. So our primary business is training. We do sell a few firearms, but it's literally that much of what we do. Well, they contacted our accountant. They were holding a fairly sized chunk of money and said, look, we can't release this money. You sell guns over the internet. They can be sold to children. Well, our accountant went into detail and explained, no, that's not how gun sales work. So they released the money. 7 days later, it's about 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, we get a call again saying, no, we were wrong. Again, they were holding a pretty substantial amount of our money and said, we can't do business with you anymore. And we said, okay, that's fine. It's capitalism. We understand. You go your way, we'll go ours. But they didn't send the money on through to us. Now, this money was for classes we had provided and sales we had made. Now, the sales can be anything from T-shirts with our logo, just like you're promoting your logo, shirts with our logos, coffee mugs, to some specialty firearms. They returned all those monies to the clients, even though we had provided product and services, which we took issue with. So, fortunately, we hadn't burned bridges with our old processing company. We were able to get back up and running again in 3 or 4 hours, so we didn't lose any business there. But it's the man hours we had to spend in the following weeks with our pro shop staff, with our training coordinator, with our accountant, with our owner's wife, with myself, with some other contractors we use in the business. The untold amount of man hours and money we had to spend in reaching out to our good Gunsite clients and say, hey, I know you paid us this $1,800 for this class, but you're going to get it back on your credit card and we need you to pay us again. And that's, I don't know, it's not embarrassing, but it's a challenging thing to do. But again, as we both know, gun-loving Americans are good people, and they realized what it was, and they paid us again. Same thing with the items in our pro shop. Now, some of the sales in the pro shop we aren't going to be able to recover. As a matter of fact, this morning we got our last payment back from somebody for tuitions, just this morning. But in the pro shop, somebody may come in off the street here in northern Arizona and want to buy a T-shirt, a coffee mug, 2 hats, and a jacket. And just like when you walk into your retail store, your local Stop and Rob or whatever, and you punch your credit card in that machine, there's no record kept of who you are. We have a lot of those sales, and unfortunately, we've lost some of those. So that's where we were on a Friday afternoon, and the work that's entailed since.
So what has been the kind of the process since then in terms of dealing with them and trying to get them to rectify this whole thing? What's been their attitude?
First and foremost, we had to find another credit card processing company, and thanks to the gun press, people like yourselves, many companies reached out to us, and we focused on finding a good pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment, pro-American company for that, and we found one. Now, Intuit took it, and there were also many other supporters in the firearms industry and good customers that sent emails and letters to Intuit. I was copied on many of them saying, we don't appreciate what you're doing, and no longer will we use QuickBooks or T-Sheets or some of the other products they offer. The president of the company, Brad Smith, sent a letter out, kind of a chain letter to these folks. I was copied on it, but it had those misconceptions of sales. So I wrote him back and explained the process of how gun sales really are, and I also explained that our issue was, you can choose to do business this way, but you should have given us our money. Well, Intuit actually called us on 3 separate occasions now. They've had conference calls with Buzz Mills, our owner, and myself, and they asked us to educate them as to the firearms industry. They were very polite, very professional. There was no threat of litigation on our part or anything like that. They seemed very genuine. So we talked to some of their senior staff for some time on the phone and explained that the regulations in our industry, how, yes, you may call Gunsite and say, I want a Gunsite service pistol, tell me about it, and we'll explain this custom pistol to you. You say, okay, I want it, here's my credit card number. So that part of the sale is not face-to-face. It's keyed in, but that gun is then sent to your licensed dealer in Sacramento, and you then have to go there face-to-face, show your state ID, fill out that 4473 that's a federal and state felony if you violate it. You pass the requisite NICS check, and ATF comes in and audits that dealer. So we went through all that with them, and they didn't have a good understanding about how that worked. So we had a couple of phone calls with them explaining that. But yesterday we had a very pleasant surprise when their senior staff called us and offered us a very fair, I don't want to say settlement because we weren't in negotiations, a remuneration of monies to help offset the many, many, many dollars we've spent in staff time trying to fix this. So I've got to give kudos to them for that. I don't know that they've changed their policies on guns and so on, but maybe that's a step in the right direction because they stepped up and did try to do the right thing in paying us back some money that we were forced to spend as a result of their actions.
Well, but this is an example of where so many people, not once again, in this case in business, but people in elective office, people in the media, people who do news commentary, all of these people, they make these decisions and make these declarations that have, in some cases, have an impact on people's lives. And it's based on ignorance, on a lack of knowledge of either firearms technology, the firearms industry and business, and exactly what goes into it, or even just firearms policy. In all of these areas, they operate out of sheer ignorance, and because it's the popular thing to do, they don't feel like they need to educate themselves, as in the case with Intuit.
Well, I will also say Intuit also points the finger at Chase Bank. Apparently that's their financial institution, and they say it's a Chase Bank policy. But again, reiterating what you just said, if they would know the facts, let's not get we need to do something get in the way of facts. And the facts are the gun transactions we made are minimal, and they are absolutely face-to-face and more regulated, as I explained to them, that if you go into Walgreens drugstore and pick up a prescription for an opioid, there's fewer checks made on you than there is if you go in and buy a Gunsite service pistol.
Right. And the thing is, though, the first thing that they'll say is, well, and the facts don't matter. Clearly, you've made it possible to sell guns to children, right? I mean, that's kind of their attitude. It's like it's an assumption that you are going to sell guns to children.
Well, we hope we've made some inroads with Intuit that, and these wouldn't have been made were it not for the good gun industry people and the great clients. We call them Gunsite family. The great Gunsite family that reached out to Intuit and said, look, you're wrong here, and now we're going to impact your bottom line. That's what some of these companies are trying to do to us, to everybody from Ruger to the mom and pop gun store. That's what they're trying to do to us to make some inroads against the Second Amendment. And now I think this was a good step in the right direction, showing we can impact them and they can change their minds as a result.
I think you make a very important point there. A lot of times we tend to think that, well, hey, you know what? If I make a phone call, it's not going to make a difference. If I send a letter, it's not going to make a difference. But in a case like this, clearly it's made a difference. And so we need to know that our activism is important. Letting folks know whether or not if we use their products now, that there's a threat that we're not going to use their products, so that we're customers and we're not happy. And we don't necessarily prefer that policy, and that we have options. And that's the thing is, we don't always have necessarily really convenient options, and sometimes we don't have any options at all when it comes to the services that we choose to use with these folks. But in the end, it's important for them to know that they're not the only ones in the business, and that we do have options. Let our politicians know, you know what, you're up for re-election, and we do have options. And in your case, when it comes to credit card processing, you do have options.
And I'll tell you, had they chosen but they could have released the monies, and we would have gone our separate paths. But they chose otherwise, and as a result, there was a lot of negative media attention they got. and that may be very well why they changed their mind and did what they did. And we hope that they will continue to be open-minded enough to look at the gun industry in a factual basis now that they know, and say, well, we can do this because we know all the regulations you must follow. I have no desire. I'm a retired county sheriff. I have no desire to spend time in jail or a federal prison by breaking federal or state gun laws, and the reputable dealers that we know aren't either. So if they could just follow that factual basis, they'd think of the money they've lost or they're going to lose as a result of this policy. From just we're not the biggest business in the world, but we turn a lot of business here, and if that's their policy with all firearms-related industries, there's a lot of business to be lost there.
Exactly. Well, who knows? Hopefully they've learned their lesson. I'm not going to count on it, but hopefully they've learned their lesson. Before we go, do us a quick favor. Let folks know about Gunsite Academy. Let them know who you are, what you do, and how they can get a hold of you.
All right, certainly. Gunsite Academy is the world's oldest privately owned and operated firearms training facility. I don't mean in the nation, in the republic. I mean in the world. We've been in business 42 and a half years. There's law enforcement and military that have done training longer than us, but we train you. We train Earth people. That's our bread and butter and has been all these years from when Jeff Cooper founded us to today under our current ownership of Buzz and Sonia Mills. We teach predominantly 5-day classes. Our focus is on mindset, gun handling, and marksmanship. But we teach various levels of pistol, carbine, rifle, shotgun, and then offshoots of those. For instance, this week we have a church defense class going on, a 5-day class. Churches are high-profile targets and oftentimes are gun-free zones, which of course means they're high-profile targets for miscreants. So we've got church people here learning not just shooting, but it's how these events have evolved over the years, how to put together a team, who you want on your team or who you don't want on your team, what their various responsibilities are. We have a school staff response to active shooter. It's a 7-day class. We have tactical medicine based on an active shooter role. We have vehicle defense. We have street crimes. We do ladies-only classes. We don't men, but some ladies just don't want to learn with men in the class. So we do separate ladies' classes. Now, guys, you may want to plug your ears here, but women are better students than guys are. We've got all that machismo in us, and we've seen John Wayne and Mel Gibson and all those guys on TV doing it. So what could you possibly teach me? Women don't have that attitude in there. So we offer a variety of courses, and you can go to our website, Gunsite, Gunsite.com. Say again, Gunsite.com. All our classes are listed there and information, or you can call us. The number's there, or email me, Ken@Gunsite.com, Ken@Gunsite.com. We'll be happy to try to answer questions.
Well, great. Hey, you know what? Thank you so much. We really appreciate what you guys do. You guys help facilitate, that's what you guys do. You guys help facilitate the exercising of a constitutionally enumerated right. I can't thank you guys enough.
Now, you need to get out of California and come to free America, visit us here at Gunsite, get some great training, and let us change your life.
Hey, man, I would love to visit you there in America. We're going to have to connect offline and make that happen. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. I thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank our special guest, Mr. Ken Campbell from Gunsite Academy. And I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and for telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.